Yeah, so today's talk, and feel free to interrupt me at any time and share any feedback if you're online or here in person. But yeah, today's talk is because one of the a couple of the groups that I'm a part of, this became a talking feature in one of their meetings that they had. And so I think it is important to talk about this. Plus, we've had a couple agents, none that are actually on the call, which is surprising, but we've had a couple agents go to different networking events and were asked, hey, what do you do for work? Or, hey, how's the market? And the response they told me, because they said they panicked, was like shocking to me. But it's not shocking at the same time. I mean, I think we have to remember that any opportunity is an opportunity, and if you don't practice your script, which your script is one of like the three main tools I always talk about. Your main tools, your CRM, knowledge of the contracts, and what you say. I mean, your verbiage and how you word things is very important. And so you got to practice that, because that's one of your three main tools that you're going to use in this business. And it always takes me back, for those who don't know, I used to do Amway back in the day. And our job was to go, basically recruit people into starting their business for they had to get like a business license through Amway. And you had to talk them into buying like $300 worth of stuff to $500 worth of stuff every single month, and then go and recruit other people to do the same thing. And I got really good at it, mostly because they put so much in. If any of them were to ever watch this recording, they're like, yeah, see, we're awesome. But that's not exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying that if they can do it, you can definitely do 10 times better with a better vehicle. So my thing is, they have put so much, and I've had a conversation with some pretty wealthy people who some of their top salespeople are this way. They came from Amway, or they came from some other network marketing group. And the thing is they push the vision and they push like the dream so much that it becomes ingrained in their head. And you get to a point when you've created vision boards every single year. You have goal setting times every January or December 31st. And, you put so much focus on imagining yourself living this amazing lifestyle that you finally get to a point that you believe you're worth it, and you believe that you're capable of achieving that, and you go out and you make things happen. Like, I used to go out, I had I had 2 gym memberships, but I would go hop from gym to gym to gym and strike up conversations with anyone at the gym I could find, and try to get their phone, see if they were interested in, doing something other than what they currently were doing for work. And then I would get their phone number, and I would go home, make notes about it, and then I would call them and invite them for a one-on-one coffee meeting. At the meeting, I'd convince people, I'd give them this book, and I'd convince people to read the book that like got them excited and taught them about network marketing, but got them excited about, working for themselves and creating passive income. And people all the time stole my book. I had a budget of like $500 a year pretty much, because people would they realized what it was and threw the book away and never called me after that. But right, you still did it. So why is it that people could do that and be successful with it and not be successful with a significantly better vehicle and opportunity? And it really comes down to a couple things. So it still comes down to, like, have you imagined in your head, if I close 3 deals a month, it's pretty doable, right? If you had 1 listing, 2 buyers, or 3 listings, I mean, if you look at the average sales price in our area and that commission, especially with our 90-10 split and a commission cap, like, what does that look like per year for you? Like, what does that buy you? What options does that give you? And have you put yourself in a position where you've imagined every day in your life, you look at, if I was making, so let's just say that that's 30,000 a month. If I'm making 30,000 a month, what just changed from what I just did an hour ago? What just changed from the conversation I just had with my family member who's stressed out about income? What just changed about this and this and this? Like, everything should be looked at. Like, I look in here, I'm like, I would not be on this wobbly desk from Amazon, but that's what you have to start to do, because you have to really start to believe and imagine in your head that I deserve to achieve something like that. 2, I'm capable of achieving something like that, because I'm a person And if another human being achieved that, then I can definitely do it too. You don't need to say, oh, that, I need to find another female because I'm a female, or I'm a male and I'm a hospital worker, so I need to find another male hospital. No, if a human being can do it, you can do it. So you have to believe you can do it, but then you just really have to imagine what that is, because that'll push you to a place where you're going to pursue and you're going to work hard to achieve it and figure out what work you need, right? If you got people in Amway going out, like I would walk around every single Ross and department store and grocery store, and I made it a goal to, I looking back, I'm pretty sure every single day when I did Amway, I was in a different store probably 30 times a day, at least 30 times a day, just going in there and striking up conversations with people. And it's just like, man, if I could get to a point where I could do that, why am I not getting to a point where I'm doing maybe something similar, or working harder with a better vehicle, right? There are people out there who really want to buy a house and just really do not feel like they understand what the process is. I mean, Freddie Mac, one of the government agencies, has still come out every single year with a consumer study saying that most first-time home buyers still believe they need 20% down in order to buy a house. So and most people think that they have bad credit if it's not 700, a 700 credit score. Most people, like the majority of consumers. So you have to think in your head, if that's how it is, how do I get in front of those people? If the majority of sales, maybe, I don't know if this is true, but if the majority of sales, home sales, came from online leads, Zillow, Realtor.com, whatever, why is it that I'm not getting in front of those people first? Where they're asking me, hey, I saw this home on Zillow. Can you show me, because I like and trust you? Can you show me and represent me? So how do I get in front of those people? And I think every day we get in opportunities, and every week, I should say, we get in opportunities where we're able to have a conversation with someone. So how do we redirect that conversation to something that makes sense for your business, right? Because if in the back of your head, you're imagining everything you do, if I'm making $30,000 a month, what changes in what I'm doing right now? So I'm at the grocery store and I'm looking at what I'm buying, and I'm comparing between filet mignon and some like $5 steak with odd colors in it. I'm making $30,000 a month. I'm buying that filet mignon, right? Then someone walks up to you and they go, hey, nice shirt. What do you do for work? Boom. I should know what I'm going to say, right? Or someone walks up next to me dressed nice. How do I start a conversation? Were you say something?
I was just gonna say, that sort of mentality, making 30,000 a month versus like a loser mentality. It's filet mignon or filet and hot Cheetos for dinner.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
sorry.
No, that's good. It reminds me of Chopped, when they like give them random ingredients, and I'm like, how are they going to use flaming hot Cheetos? And they like blend it up and put it as like a crust on the steak. I'm like, dang, that's smart. Yeah, that's where my mind went. Yeah. And I mean, so that's the thing, is that's like the precursor to today's talk, is, getting yourself to a point where the lifestyle you're living, it's not like you're knocking yourself down, but you're still not okay with it. So then what are you going to do past that? Okay, you got to work on your skills and your tools. And first you fix that. And so then second is you got to fix this. And you got to know what you're going to say at different times. What am I going to say when I'm talking to someone? Okay, I'm going to the Roseville food truck event on Thursdays, let's say. And there's food trucks everywhere. There's shared tables where I know I'm going to sit down next to someone, probably to eat my food. What am I going to say? I'm going to pick someone who ordered food from a different food truck. I'm going to sit down next to them and I'm going to say, hey, I was looking at that food truck. I got this one, but how do you like it? Right. And I'm going to say, hey, do you go to these events a lot? Like I'm going to just ask them questions where I'm interested in them. Why? Because most people, I mean, this is study after study after study. Everyone's favorite subject is themselves. Everyone's favorite word in the English language is their name. They have proven, study after study, that when you say someone's name, they do have like what do you call it? An endorphin release, or, people get excited. That's why in social media, when they do those studies, it shows that for every like and comment they get, it has like an exponential increase of endorphins on people's posts, right? So people want to feel like you like them, and you're there to listen to what they have to say. I mean, most people, they go into work and they're being told what to do all the time, especially if they're in a customer service industry, right? Then it becomes harder. So when you're going in there and you're talking to people and listening to what they have to say and asking them questions and letting them drive the conversation, you're driving the conversation by asking questions, not by you talking over them. So I like to get to a point where I'm asking them questions that are just basic questions. And then I like to find a way to get to, hey, what do you do for work? Because I want them to ask me what I do for work, right? If it's like normal conversation is, hey, how are you? You don't say, good. And I mean, some people do, right? And that's not someone I care to talk to. I'm going to move on to someone else, right? You're going to say, good. How are you? So it's the same thing, right? People are trying to think, oh, this person's talking to me. What should I say next? And they're going to repeat what you asked. So, oh, nice. You like coming here? You live in Roseville? Yeah, I live in Roseville. Nice. Do you also work in Roseville? What do you do for work? Right? Maybe they have a lot of tattoos down their arm. I'm going to say, hey, I really like your tattoos. Is your work okay with that? Or do you have to cover them up every single day? And they say, oh, yeah, my work's totally fine, whatever. Okay, nice. Hey, what do you do for work? Because then they're going to ask you, what do you do for work? There's all kinds of things you can say past that, right? Everyone is going to be different on what they feel confident and comfortable saying. And that would be my next piece of advice is when someone asks you, what do you do for work? You have to feel comfortable and confident with your next response. To me, I don't feel comfortable and confident saying I help buyers and sellers navigate the real estate industry in selling or buying properties. But I know people who say that, and I'm like, dang, you say that like really smooth and just so natural, right? That for me, that's not me. I just say, oh, I'm a full-time real estate agent. Hey, but back to what you do. How do you like doing that? Because then they eventually, almost every single time, pretty much every single time, come back and they ask some type of question about how's the market? How are things going with the new lawsuit? Right? These are all the questions you should be writing down. Anytime you have a conversation with someone, and this is what we used to do in Amway, I talk to someone and someone would say something weird and I'm like, and turn around and walk away. And I get on my phone, I'd say, hey guys, someone asked me this. How would you respond? Like it was just some random person. This is the situation. And someone would come back and say, oh, this is exactly what I'd say. And then you're prepared for the next time. So someone says, hey, how's your industry doing with that recent lawsuit? I say, honestly, and this is the thing that someone in our brokerage, someone asked them and they like shut down like, oh yeah, it's kind of frustrating. And it was like, come on, you gotta come back with a better response. I like to say, especially with the lawsuit, it's interesting because I definitely think that the National Association of Realtors was guilty, but it's good for me because now I get to pick what my commission is, but there's a lot of confusion. A lot of times people think that the seller doesn't have, because I know that if I'm talking to someone, they might be a potential buyer. So I'm going to word everything I say in a way that gives them confidence in me as a representative, right? It's almost like this is my opportunity to like, I'm creating an interview for myself. It's like, if I really wanted a job at a company, I'm going to create an opportunity for me to just have an on-the-spot interview. So I'm going to say, how's the lawsuit? Well, I definitely think the National Association of Realtors was guilty. And so it's very interesting, but there's a lot of misconception. For some reason, the news and people keep saying that sellers do not have to, seller or buyers have to pay their agent's commission, but that's just not true. Like I personally think, and with all of my clients that I work with, it's my job to negotiate to get the seller to pay for it. Like I answer my phone a lot. I communicate when there's problems. I'm a problem solver and solution seeker. And so a lot of listing agents, I'll explain that to them and I'll tell them, this is why your seller should pay me this commission, because I'm going to communicate throughout the deal. And a lot of listing agents, they know that there are bad agents out there that don't communicate and just disappear because they're just there to make a commission check. And so a lot of times they'll accept my offer from my client asking for more commission than someone that never answered the phone asking for less commission, because it's just not worth the stress and possibly canceling and going back on the market. And people hear that and they see, oh, that is what you would do for me, because they're going to imagine themselves. So as you tell stories and give examples, people imagine themselves in the same situation. Like that's how our memory works. So when you tell that story, that's how they're going to handle it. Same thing. If someone asks, hey, how's the market? I heard interest rates are really high. I like to say, they might be high, but I love this market so much more than back in 2021. Back in 2021, rates might have been really low, but you would get wild, like crazy amounts of offers on every single house in the area, in tough areas, in good areas, dilapidated houses, great houses. And so it was really frustrating. Now I feel like when I can properly represent my client and get them a really good deal, either getting things fixed or getting credits or asking a seller to give a credit to reduce the interest rate, right? I like to say things that if someone's asking, I heard interest rates are too high, then in their head, my objection for buying is interest rates are too high. I should not buy. So I'm going to say, well, it's great because the market, there's not as many offers on houses because rates are too high. And so with me and my clients, we like to go in, find a house that they like, and then ask for a large credit from the seller to reduce the interest rate. And that way people imagine themselves, oh, wait, that's an option. I can lower the interest rate and I can have the seller pay for it. Hopefully this is all making sense to everyone. I mean, every time you talk to someone, you should be prepared and think of every type of situation and almost rehearse it in your head and out loud before an event. Like we used to go to a poker night, and I knew that the person who hosted the poker night invited all of their neighbors. So these are all homeowners for the most part coming to this poker night. And so I'd practice in my head and I knew, hey, I cannot get super drunk at this event. Not like I never really get drunk, but I knew I had to practice, hey, if someone asked me, and I need to start conversations, but if someone asked me, hey, what do you do for work? How's the market? I need to talk about it in a way that makes sense for a seller. Oh, it's interesting. Sometimes I'd have people say, I don't know why I would sell right now and buy something that's, with a higher interest rate. I say, you're right. You shouldn't do that, but there are a lot of people out there who really want to upgrade their house, and they know because they've owned the house before that if they buy at a higher interest rate, when interest rates drop down, they don't have to compete as much for the house and they're able to refinance to the lower rate. But at least they were able to take advantage of the equity that they have now. There's I've had people say, hey, can you come to my house after and walk through to see what upgrades? Because they'd say, why did this house sell for so much more? I feel like prices are dropping in my neighborhood. And I'll say, well, it depends. Are you looking at Zillow? And they'll oftentimes say, yes, my Zillow estimate, right? My Zillow estimate of my house shows this. I'm like, well, don't forget that Zillow has no clue that your house is updated or not. So what Zillow is looking at is just square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, maybe lot size, maybe year. But that's it. So it just depends. Like those properties that sold, were they updated? Were they not updated? What about your house? What's the condition? And so I've had people invite me over during the Super Bowl to say, hey, can you look at my house and tell me if we should upgrade something or not? Those are then the times that you have to be really prepared in your head to have that conversation. And that's your interview opportunity. And so I remember walking through a house where they were like, should I update this? I'm like, I guess you can, but it looks nice. And then we went into their master bedroom and they're like, should we upgrade the carpet? And I said, it looks really clean, but the carpet was all in the bathroom. I'm like, oh, if you're going to spend any money, get the carpet out of the bathroom. And they were like, really? I said, yes. I don't know I get it. You're getting out of a wet shower onto carpet. It's kind of gross, but there's something about carpet in the bathrooms that those houses do not sell. And they said, wow, okay, thank you. And they were like so impressed with that. So this is all just things you have to do. And then ask for the business. I think that is the biggest thing in this industry that we all drop the ball on, me included. I had my neighbors, Russian family, were living in this really small rental. They were having problems with their landlord and they were on a month to month. Someone moved out in this huge house across the street. They called that landlord and said, hey, we're living across the street and we're tired of living with this landlord. They're making things really difficult for us. Can we rent out your house? So they switched houses. And I talk to them all the time and I just never thought to ask, hey, if you ever think about buying, please let me know. I'd be happy to help you. Because sure enough, like 6 months later, they bought. And the reason why they said they bought is they got so tired of dealing with different landlords and having things in the house needing to be fixed, and the landlord was not fixing it. And if I would have just asked that, I probably would have been the one that took them to that new build. But instead, they just went on their own because they drove by and thought, I wonder what it would be like if we bought. So shame on me, right? But yeah, ask for the business. Because I mean, what's going to happen if I say, hey, if you ever think about buying, please let me know. I would love to work for you. That is how I would put it. I would love to work for you. A lot of times you're going to get people that say, oh, thank you so much. If I ever do, but right now I got to work on things. Boom. Now I know in my head, hey, there's an objection that they have. How do I overcome that objection? Oh, interesting. Why do you feel you're not ready? I'm not going to talk you into buying, but why do you feel like you're not ready? And people give you all kinds of reasons. Sometimes they'll be justified. So always still, validate them. Oh, I'm not ready because I just really don't make enough. I just switched jobs and in a totally different industry. That makes a lot of sense. Hey, but did you know that once you're 6 months at that new job, you'll be good to go? Have you ever talked to a mortgage lender and stuff like that? So hopefully this makes sense. Does anyone have anything to share as far as dialogues or things that they found work for them?
I had something I wanted to share.
Yeah. Mary has something to share now that she's here.
Whoa, mind is blown.
She's on there and here.
I was gonna say, like, it's a skill set, right? And it's not natural for everybody. It's not natural for me. And it's just something that you have to work on. Like, you have to actively work on it, though.
Yeah.
And find way, like with real estate, it's like, if you don't know about interest rates, or if you don't know about appreciation, or if there's things you don't know about, you can go and find parts of it that you do. Like, I read articles every day about real estate, and I find things like, oh, that makes sense to me. Oh, I'm interested in that. And those are points that could come up in conversation with a stranger. Like, you don't have to talk about, oh, I'm in real estate, but you could talk about real estate, like things that are interesting to you.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like so specific and so knowledgeable.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. I had a client who he was a teacher. I just didn't know how much he lived in like this kind of shabby-ish house. And I was just talking about buying investment properties. And he said, oh, I've got a lot of money saved. He made a great income. He had a lot of money saved, and he really wanted to buy investment properties. And I guess I just didn't realize he had, like, to your point with your wife, he had 2 masters. So he was making a lot more, and he had been a teacher for so long. And so he was able to qualify and buy an investment property. But we were talking about something, and somehow I segued it. We were talking about my own house. He goes, how do you like living where you're at? I'm like, it's good. I don't know if I'd sell my house. I would like to own more investment properties, but I don't know if I'd rent it out or not. And we just got in this conversation about rental properties, right? And I was prepared in my head, like, if someone had an objection, what are they going to say? Oh, I'd hate to deal with tenants. Well, how am I going to handle that objection? And move on from there. I mean, here's the thing is, for anyone who works online leads, it's so much harder to work those leads versus getting a client from any event, any networking thing. Anytime you have this conversation and you've created an interview for yourself, and you've interviewed that person, interviewed you right on the spot. That person, if they become a client, from start to finish, that transaction is going to be 100 times easier than an online lead, because an online lead, they don't know anything about you, and you're just some person that was on the phone that you're meeting with at the house, and you're trying to sell yourself and talk them into it. But at the same time, there's going to be this wall up, because there's always going to be okay, this is a product that they're here to sell, right? Versus I'm just at an event and I'm talking to someone. I go to the Home and Garden show, right? That's coming up, which I think Edlin wants to have a booth at. I don't know if we're going to end up doing that. I don't think we'll do that, but I would just go and I would just try to have conversations with people. Have your cards in your pocket and just say, I don't know, just start up conversation. Like, hey, how do you like the show? Did you find any booths that are really cool? Because I haven't really found anything that was that exciting, and having that conversation, because that person, when you've interviewed with them, is going to immediately trust you. There was no product there for you to sell. So they're not thinking in the back of their mind, is this person selling me this product or not? Right. I mean, we constantly are getting bombarded with buy this, buy this, buy this. So when you're meeting those online leads, there's already a barrier you kind of have to overcome. Obviously, some online leads, those are just people who really needed help to the point where they reached out. And sometimes they're great leads, sometimes they're not. It's going to be the same thing when you're talking to people. Sometimes you're going to meet someone who said, wow, I've been really wanting to buy, and I'm glad I got to talk to you. Or I've been really wanting to sell. My kids just moved out of state. They are having grandkids. I don't want to be here anymore. I want to be near my grandkids. Boom. Have a conversation. Right? Nate and I and Chanel are going to a client's retirement party next weekend. So same thing. We got to kind of be prepared. And I mean, she loves us. Yeah.
Tell them it's time to downsize.
Time to downsize? No, she just got the house.
Oh, okay.
We just closed on the loan. But yeah, she loves us. Yeah. So yeah.
Take the mobile listing.
Yeah.
You know what?
Oh, all from a mobile listing. Yeah.
I had a mobile listing here in Folsom and it sat on the market 104 days, but Chanel and I must have gotten 15 to 20 new leads. Not all of them are, converting, but they're opportunities. And that was one of them, man.
Yeah.
She's such an awesome lady. So we didn't really transact on a home. She ended up needing to buy out her aunt. It wasn't a probate situation, but her grandmother passed away and she happened to live in the home. So anyways, it turned into opportunity, at least for Cameron. And I know in the future, she'll come back to us.
Yeah. But still, I kept emphasizing, how great Chanel and Nate were as realtors. And she just constantly talked so highly because you represented them versus selling them. Obviously, we're not here just to work for free all the time. But if Zillow called you right now, anyone who's listening or watching the recording, and said, hey, we're putting on a networking event for people who use the Zillow app. Do you want to come and network with these people who are browsing on Zillow all the time? Would you do that? Would you drop everything and go and be like, so people who use the Zillow app are getting invited to a networking event where I get to just meet them? You're like, no. You're like, why would they do that?
Trick question.
Yeah. Well, it is a trick question because it's like, I mean, most people do use those apps. So when we're getting invited to this, to this retirement party, it's like, I mean, to me, it's like the same thing. It's the same thing we talked about yesterday. Everything is a perspective, right? And so everything is an opportunity. I'm not there to sling cards out to everyone. I want to create opportunity where I get interviewed. I may not even bring my cards, but I'm going to have my contact ready to go on my phone to text to people. That is what I would recommend everyone to do. Someone says, well, do you have a card on you? I go, oh no, I didn't even think to bring a card here. But here, let me text you my contact info. That way I get, what's your first and last name again? Boom, put that down. Now you have their information, because that's really the key. Is I want their information. In Amway, we never had cards because I lose all control when they have my number and I don't have theirs, right? That was like the biggest no-no. You get their phone number. So yeah. I always kicked myself at open houses for doing that, for just being like, here, give me a call if you ever, need help. No, she'd be like, oh, I just ran out of cards. It was crazy. Right when we opened, there was like 30 people here. I didn't even think to bring that many cards, but here, let me text you my contact info. Yeah. I say that, and then I don't practice it enough in my head. And then when the opportunity comes, I'm just like, oh, here's a card. I'm like, no, just be like, oh, it's an expired card. Sorry, here. Yeah, the phone number's wrong on it. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I should say. Yeah. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for hopping on. We'll end the call, but hope to see everyone soon. Don't forget that the